Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com. You can leave comments there, or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at whoknewpodcast, and find us on Facebook. Today's episode is episode 2 of season 8, Into the Dalek. A recently regenerated doctor finds himself in new territory, literally, and wonders if he is good enough to continue. This episode is written by Phil Ford and Stephen Moffat, directed by Ben Wheatley. It originally aired on the 30th of August, 2014, and was watched by 5.2 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hello, this is Auburn.
Hey, this is Josh.
Hi, this is Heather.
Hello, this is Frank.
Hi, this is Brian.
And this is Kelsey.
A damaged military space vehicle is being chased by a Dalek ship, which is firing on it constantly. Finally, a shot lands successfully and the ship explodes. The pilot awakes to find herself on the TARDIS. The doctor materialized the time capsule around her 1 second before she would have exploded. After some stern banter, the pilot, Lieutenant Journey Blue, orders the doctor at gunpoint to return her to her command ship. He says no, not like that, get it right. Journey asks him to take her back, please. And the doctor activates the TARDIS. Her command ship is a retrofitted hospital ship now designed to wage war against the Daleks. Journey's superiors thank him for saving her, but orders his death. Instead, Journey says he's a doctor and they have a patient. And that patient turns out to be a Dalek that wants to destroy all Daleks.
Dun, dun, dun.
Woo! Some exciting stuff.
Sorry.
The cold open with just Journey and the doctor, like it got to the main title, and I was very excited for this to be a companion light episode. I was like, oh, Clara's not here. And then right after the main title, it's Danny Pink, who I remember. So I was like, nope, this is not a companion light episode.
This is not what you asked for.
No, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm growing to like these episodes. I think rewatching them also helps, and time has helped.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, you weren't here for our last one. Remind me, was Peter Capaldi your first Doctor? No, that was somebody else completely. Okay, Matt Smith. You guys told me that. Doctor. All right.
But I'm kind of glad I missed Capaldi's first episode, because I had a lot of thoughts on that.
So did all of us.
I'm sure you guys are on a very similar page that I would have been on had I been there. So
Just listen to the 3-episode arc of the first episode of Doctor Who.
Oh God.
No.
But no, you were saying Auburn? No, he was not my first Doctor.
But you like him though, right? Like is he your favorite?
No,
I thought we had one
do like
that...
him, but okay. I like him in his later seasons more.
Okay.
Yes, I do too.
When he is, it sort of seems like he's being forced into a grumpy man mold in this one, and in the further seasons, it seems like they gave him a little more creative freedom on his Doctor. So I don't necessarily think it's a reflection of Peter Capaldi as an actor. I feel like they're like, this is our new Doctor is edgy and dark, and so do it that way. And that's what he did.
Which is a character that he did previously on a different show.
Malcolm, the thick of it.
Which they probably said just be Malcolm without the
without the cursing.
Profanity.
Cursing, yeah.
Which is still wrong. It should have the cursing.
I warned Frank last night I'm gonna be controversial on this. I love this Doctor in this scene.
The first scene?
Maybe the first. I have massive issues with this, and maybe I kind of like this Doctor all the way up to the last scene. Up until, well, maybe not the last scene, but his last moment. He's Malcolm without the swearing. He has no filter. He thinks, if you go back to Deep Breaths, he thinks human beings are pudding heads, and so he's going to treat people like pudding heads. And I love that, like, stern adult thing. No, that's not how we ask for things. And it just makes me laugh, and he does it so well. It's so perfect for him. I just love it. I just think it's a great idea. And at this point, I was still looking forward to them having a darker Doctor. I thought it was a great jumping off point for a character arc, and they just blew it out the window.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
that disappointed me greatly. And it was like rewatching this, it was like, oh, if they had just stuck to their guns and written it well, the Doctor we could have had, somebody completely different, would have been awesome.
Yeah, they really didn't commit.
Right. I thought this episode had a lot of possibility.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
it's Into the Dalek, which makes you think of Into the Woods. And so, paraphrasing, quoting, Bernadette Peters, some of us don't like how you're telling it. It's like the captain of the ship is saying, oh, we're going to have to kill you. Sorry, that's just our rules because we don't know who you are. And the Doctor is saying, well, this was a medical ship. Well, it's not a medical ship because, the Daleks just kill us all, and it's not a prison ship because we don't take prisoners and our captives. And you have a captive who needs a doctor in this whole thing. It's just changing the whole idea of, no, we're doing this. And it's like, oh yeah, this is against everything we are standing for. We need a doctor because of our captive is needing it. So it just was weird, the writing and how they said it. One line I did like with the writing, which shows the Doctor being a lot more cold than we're used to, was when Journey was saying that, where's her brother? He just killed her brother, or her brother's dead. And he said, well, his sister's isn't, so you're welcome. And it's like, ouch, but yes. So I thought it was an interesting take on it, and I liked that it is so different. And it was, be thankful what you did have and what I was able to do. Because I think her brother is already really gone anyway. But
yeah, he has no filter, and that's kind of refreshing.
I want to clarify on what I mentioned earlier about how I like the Doctor better in his later seasons. But I did not dislike him in this first season. I did enjoy the change. And I felt it was a little one-dimensional, and that he was able to branch out a bit more. That's what I was saying. But that doesn't mean I don't like the way he is now. I agree with you, Brian and Auburn. His lines are very, they have a good punch to them.
Yes.
And they're very entertaining in that way.
Yeah.
The thing I like about this
I didn't
Doctor,
understand the term of duplicate.
Yeah, but didn't you figure that out later?
No, but the captain was saying, we have to kill you because we don't know if you're a duplicate. And that made me think of the Flesh, the gangers. Is that what they're using? Is that something that happened?
I think it's the duplicates with the eye stalk coming out of their foreheads.
That was my other thought, but those aren't duplicates. Those are the people who have been taken over by Daleks.
Well, the enemy doesn't know that.
I
They
know,
just
but to
see
me,
duplicates running around.
But they
put
needed
that
to
line
explain
in
it.
there, and
They
was
needed to
that
explain what they
a
meant by
flashback
that.
to one of those two things? Because we're thinking both of those, and then it's like, well, no, it's duplicate because they're thinking something different. So I didn't know that didn't pay out, or was it just something that was going on that they just wanted to put a background in? Let's say we can't trust you.
Yeah.
It just seemed odd to put it in.
I literally just brushed right over that. The things that you guys take notes on, I'm like, what?
Well, sometimes they want to add so many different things in, and so many different Easter eggs or references or
right,
nods
and you
to-
don't know what you should be
It's like-
noting or
Right.
paying attention for future reference, and what's just like they just picked a word.
Another line I liked was the whole fantastic name for a movie. And it's really a fantastic voyage is where I go to, where they
Oh,
shrink
yeah.
people down to put into the person's brain. So I just laughed at that one.
But not for a proctologist.
Right.
Oh, right. Okay.
Fantastic name for a movie, and it's just a fantastic voyage. It's like that had to have been a good reference. Nobody cares about Kai. She cares about Kai, her brother.
The brother.
Yeah. But the Doctor doesn't seem to care. The uncle doesn't seem to care. It's like, oh, I'm so glad you brought her back.
No, it
Laura's
seems
lore.
like, they're probably losing so many people.
Oh, I'm sorry to be this person, but what happened to her hair? It's so distracting.
Oh, the bad wig?
Yeah, it's like a
it-
lawnmower encountered her head.
Well, it's a haircut in the field. I mean, like, what are you going to do?
I don't,
You got the helmet on.
because I didn't take note of that.
Oh my god, I
Yeah.
couldn't look away. It was like a train wreck.
Maybe they just cut what grows past the helmet.
Or the time bubble wasn't extended to her hair, so it was a casualty.
I'm just saying, everybody else's hair looked fine, so.
The thing that I noticed about her was how tall she was. I don't know if anybody
Yeah.
else.
When she
Like-
hugged
I
the
did
guy, I
notice
was like,
that.
oh!
You first notice how tall she is when there's this wide shot with her and the Doctor and
Uncle.
and her uncle. Yeah, and like she's like just an inch shorter than Peter Capaldi. And
Well, I
they're
don't
both
even know if she's
towering over the
shorter.
Doctor. I look closely.
Because she's in like the
maybe it was way they were
background. I
standing.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe
yeah.
you're right. Maybe she is even taller.
I like that you brought up that she calls him uncle. Oh, this is interesting. I was like, are they family, or is it like a
Term of respect.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Like in this world, is that like a term of respect?
It feels like a plot line that they dropped because
Yeah.
she only refers to him as uncle, not anybody else on the team. And
Yeah, I have a feeling they're actual family.
that actress is 5'10" and Peter Capaldi is 6 feet.
She probably had thick boots.
Boots.
Yeah, there you go.
And next to the other soldiers who were probably more average British height. Yeah, she
Right.
just looked taller.
It's a full foot taller than me, actually.
Back on present-day Earth, Clara is introduced to a new Coal Hill school teacher, Danny Pink. And after some witty, awkward, and forced banter, they decide to have drinks later. Clara enters the supply room and the doctor is there with her coffee that she asked for 3 weeks ago in Glasgow. But there's no time for that now. The doctor asks Clara seriously, "Am I a good man?" She hesitates and says quietly, "I don't know." "Me neither," he replies. "Let's go, I need you." And he activates the TARDIS and tells her about the good Dalek. Back on the ship, the plan is to go into the Dalek, literally. They are shrunk down and carefully proceed into the Dalek.
I do like that effect of like that water distorted quality as they go into the eye stalk after they're miniaturized. It's kind of like what I would envision that look like, and I felt that the production team captured that very well.
Yes. I didn't think that it would look like that because I thought it was a solid lens. So it's like, oh, that's different. I like that.
Mhm.
It was giving me 70s trippy vibes of like the dye and the water, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. It was fun. Funky.
Logan's Run.
I kept
This
thinking
is-
it
this
didn't
is-
look like they got small enough to like,
I thought so too.
Mhm.
Oh, to go through the eye stalk?
yeah, or to just, have that much space inside the Dalek. But
Yeah,
You know.
there's some liberties just for visual storytelling sake. Like they picked them up with the tweezers.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like they actually had the technology to shrink things, but they had to pick it up with a tweezers. The same thing that you pluck your eyebrows with.
It worked.
Yeah.
It was probably the only pair of tweezers on board. Since it was a medical vessel, that's no longer a medical vessel.
Well, I figured it was a robotic tweezers.
No, we saw the guy
It
do
wasn't.
it.
There was a
hand.
soldier.
They
Yeah.
showed someone like, how are we going to lift this up? I don't know. You over there plucking your eyebrows.
I was just worried that like the person doing that wasn't going to be steady enough and like shake them around too much in the capsule.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
What if they had too much coffee that day?
That'd have been fun.
They should have put like a line in like, our auto stabilizers will take care of that.
The guy should
I
just
mean,
stop
they
halfway.
specifically.
The guy should just play with them halfway and just be like, "What if I did this? What if I did that?" This is also the moment that introduces the thing that I absolutely positively despise about this episode and what basically ruins the episode for me. Stop hating on soldiers, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you really say to a soldier who's now a math teacher, "Oh, so you teach them to kill people and then cry about it later"? Who says that?
That's never crossed my mind.
Who, why? I mean, I get at this point, Britain was completely over fighting in Afghanistan and they were sick of it. But that's not how you treat
Not
the
the
men on the
soldiers'
ground.
fault. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
like, it's
but-
everybody where it's like, even the headmaster is like, "Here's the soldier." It's like,
The lady killer.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But that's just, he's a womanizer. And he's like, I'm not. Why do people think I am? It just, and it keeps going and it gets worse and worse and worse as the episode goes along until it comes to that terrible line at the end, which I think
Yeah.
affected the way I liked the 12th Doctor for seasons to come. I wish that line wasn't there.
Right.
So it just seemed mean, really mean spirited, and it was done by everybody, the Doctor is mean spirited, but he's mean spirited in like a clueless way. He just at this point just doesn't know any better. Kind of reminds me with I know it was David Tennant, it might even have been Matt Smith too, where he's saying things and then he like does an aside. Was that rude? Yes, that was rude. That's kind of like how I'm taking this Doctor now. He's freshly regenerated, and so he's just talking without a filter. But then it's just mean.
It's sort of an expansion of the Doctor hating guns. And it's also serving the storyline of why he's not going to accept Danny later.
Yeah, because they are trying to distinguish between this is the new Doctor. This is a Doctor that is not the old Doctor. I get that. But it's like you're taking a characteristic of the Doctor, like in A Good Man Goes to War. That soldier who joined up to meet him again dies. She's fighting on his side, and she dies. And that Doctor is compassionate and says, "I remember you. We ran."
Mm-hmm.
When that's a lie. He doesn't remember her. But it's compassion. It's good. And this was just a little bit too far. I wish they had paid it off. I wish that they had learned, or the Doctor had learned, you've gone too far.
Well,
And
also,
I don't
in
care.
the future?
I don't care about I don't care about the banter between him and Clara, because Clara can hold her own against the Doctor. That's fine. So when he's making his silly little things about, well, you're round, but it's nice that you tried. Clara can fight back on that, but not these strangers who are in the midst of a terrible war. I mean, shut up.
I think in the when he is speaking with Clara and he asks her, "Am I a good man?" I think that's sort of also posing more than just the main plot of the episode. Maybe it's also integrating into that, where he is more of a jerk than any other Doctor at this point. He is more curt and more insulting and more abrupt with people. So is that part of the whole thing? Like, he's now has these different feelings about soldiers. Am I a good man? I don't like soldiers anymore. Am I a good man? I'm having all these negative. Well, it's the regeneration.
He's Scottish.
He's Scottish. Like,
I mean, he never liked being saluted. That was the one thing.
But that's what
but he was in unit.
Right. But what I'm saying is maybe he is questioning who he is through the new personality he has.
I think if I were giving the writing staff more credit, I would say this is him in reaction to the War Doctor and learning about his past. So now he's running even farther away from his soldier past. If I was giving the writers a lot of extra credit. But because I'm not, it feels like we just had this very emotional resolve with like the War Doctor coming to terms with his past. And now to see him being so prejudiced against soldiers when he just resolved that emotionally. And we also know of his history with UNIT and Lieutenant Stewart. Like, he's not, he hasn't been against soldiers. So if the whole point was to be like a reaction to learning about the War Doctor, then they needed to show that tension. Because as it stands now, it's just like, why is the Doctor a jerk?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying.
It all sounds very Moffat-y. Like, I need some kind of emotional trauma. So here's a thing.
Yeah, that's right. They're getting divorced. I don't need to tell you how they got there. They're just getting divorced. So,
but also, the Doctor knows that Gallifrey's out there. He didn't destroy Gallifrey, so that whole Time War thing doesn't have the same impact that it did in previous incarnations.
I'm glad you have a reason for it, because while watching these episodes, I don't see that at all. So I blame the writers and maybe Moffat for not making that very clear of what this sort of...
See, imagine if 2 or 3 episodes down, we had a really good thing between Clara and the Doctor saying, "You asked me if I were a good man. You asked me, are you a good man? Well, would a good man do this?" If they had confronted it and like really just kind of like opened his eyes to it, then that might have worked.
But I'm coming from it at the fact that we don't get that. So I already kind of know that this is dropped.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't like it, because again, like Moffat's run, we're told something, but we're not shown how we got there. Like you brought up Amy and Rory getting divorced. We're never really shown how that built up. We just, here's a bomb that is going to explode, and you're just told that. And then now we're doing that with this, where it's a little okay because it's a regeneration, but it's not enough for me.
Right. Yeah. I think if it was under a different showrunner, I mean, just think if Russell had this idea, I think a lot more would be happening, debating, because I thought Clara would have said, define good. What does that mean? And that's one thing that just bugged me when I first saw this. It's like, it's a good Dalek, bad Dalek. Well, a bad Dalek is a good Dalek.
To the Daleks.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, well, define good. What does a good mean? And they didn't cover any of that. They just kept it plain. And another line was when the Doctor was listening to the Daleks saying, all Daleks must be destroyed. And he's not paying any attention. Oh, sure, all Daleks must be, what? Kind of seems so human. kind of thing. It's like, no, he's a doctor, he's a Time Lord. He picks up so many different levels of innuendo and discussion that we miss. In the last episode, he's like, wait a minute, what did I forget? To look at that paper that he just glanced at. You would think having a conversation with somebody or something would be more intentional. You would understand, you would have picked on that a lot quicker. Wouldn't have been that same kind of joke, the Three Company joke.
I think we've gone a little far ahead.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
No, but you're totally right. But I don't feel I want to expand on it, but I don't because.
Okay, let's wait. Sorry.
Well, the other thing I wanted to comment on was the Time War, because when we saw what the Doctor did to save Gallifrey in the Pocket Universe and then have the Daleks eliminate themselves by the crossfire, where is this Dalek coming from? If all Daleks are supposed to be destroyed. So that's why I have a sort of a problem with that.
You
and
can't, though.
We're on a podcast, so this is what I do.
There'll always be some Dalek
also,
somewhere.
Guess what? I mean, it's a trope. You know what? Superman doesn't get recognized when he puts eyeglasses on.
I will tell you, but there's a real story to that, because I have a friend who broke her glasses and had to wear contacts, and people did not recognize her with contacts.
Some people are like that, definitely.
Okay.
The other thing I don't
Well,
like
then
about...
it's a flaw in the show.
Well, the other thing that I don't like is the at the end of the Day of the Doctor, Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor is like, maybe my purpose is to get back home the long way around.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's going to be great for Capaldi to do. And now he doesn't do that. And I'm like, Moffat, why do you drop these things that we mentioned earlier? Are we supposed to pay attention to every little thing? I think that's where we got tired in like season 6 or 7 with the way Moffat was running a show, where before with Russell T Davies, it was like, oh, I remember that. That means something, as opposed to, this is a sentence. Am I supposed to pay attention to this, is, or a sentence? It's like, I don't want to do that while I'm watching these episodes.
Right.
Totally.
Agreed.
Danny and Clara's like roles at the school, I found very confusing, because it seemed to me as if everybody at least knew Danny, or he had been there for a while. Like he was running the cadet club and stuff, and then he's introduced.
Knows him.
Yeah. Then he's introduced as the new teacher, but Clara should have been new there. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Is there anybody here who's a big Monty Python fan?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a fan, yeah.
I'm a fan.
Casual.
There's that that scene with the secretary and her weird dialogue, to me, was an homage to the skit on Monty Python where two strangers sit on a bench and the guy's like, oh, you married? Does she go, eh? Does she go, eh? Is she go?
Nudge,
the way
nudge.
the secretary is talking to Danny is just kind of like, oh yeah, lady killer,
I bet you are.
and it's just like, well, that's kind of like thrown in out of the blue, and it's like, in my brain I think they're just doing an homage to Monty Python, and if they're not, that's just completely bizarre.
Well, I think they're really trying to make him out to be, a heartthrob like that, like from moment one. It's just they're trying to make him out to be the Brad Pitt of England, or at some point.
Well, it's pretty cute.
And it's kind of suggested to us that he's absolutely 100% not that. So,
well, that's the thing. I think the whole thing about judging soldiers, judging a book by its cover. This guy's so handsome, but really he's an insecure, pussycat. That sort of thing. I think I'm really thinking ahead right now, but to his whole story arc and what he does with the end of his run on the show, it's this not I don't want to say flip flop, but it's a total 180 type of growth, where you never would have guessed this person is actually this person, or can be that person. But again, I think Moffat plants these seeds that he tells us half of what he's thinking in a way that we know what he's doing, but we're watching it fresh and we don't know, so we can't really follow it. Because I hated these episodes when I first saw them, and now I'm actually enjoying them. And I couldn't stand, why are we watching Grey's Anatomy all of a sudden with with the two of them? It's just like this is the Doctor Who show. This isn't upstairs, downstairs, where we're seeing two different storylines. What's going on here? But now that I know what I know, I'm actually following it more, and I see I couldn't stand one frame of Danny when he was on the screen.
Really?
When I first could not stand anything about. I'm not saying he was a bad actor or bad.
Pretty harsh.
What'd you say?
I bet you didn't.
And now I'm just appreciating it on another level because I know what Mount Moffat was going to do, and I see the kind of like watching behind the scenes of like how they did those special effects. When I know how the special effects looked, now I get to see how they were done. But it's hard for me to really judge what's going on screen in these earlier episodes of Capaldi because I know they don't work on fresh eyes.
Well, and
they're
you're also
working quite well for me.
You're also not alone because he's a universally despised companion. People hate Danny Pink. And one thing for me though is that I always liked Danny until the end. It was like, oh, that's stupid. But I always liked Danny. I thought Danny was like fair, like, well, what about us? And I think rewatching this episode, I think that I was like kind of programmed to like Danny just because everybody's a dick to him in the beginning,
For me, Danny was just kind of boring.
You're teaching kids to kill and cry about it. I mean, that's just rude.
Yeah.
And Danny still like is a kind-hearted guy. And I don't know. I think that just kind of programmed me to be like, okay, I don't like Clara, so I have to like Danny.
I just felt that this storyline is taking us away from the Doctor storyline, and I want to watch the Doctor.
I liked her in this episode, but I wish she would have said, "I'm sorry, I was just being funny." So acknowledge it and apologize, but she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't.
And that's the one thing I didn't like. Clara knows better than that. She's seen enough
to know
better
British,
than that.
No, it's not.
To see him and his reaction to it is like, okay, I overstepped something because I just met this person. So I just wish she would have had a line, even if she just said, "I'm sorry, I was just, trying to be funny," or just being funny.
Didn't she say something like that? I thought.
Yeah, but she didn't apologize.
No, she was just like, "Well, I'm being funny," kind of attitude of.
Unapologetic admission.
I tell jokes, kind of like, well, you just have no sense of humor.
Right.
That's how it came off in when I saw.
I mean, maybe not in that tone, but.
No, but it really was like,
but that kind of
are you
feeling.
Okay? Like, are you going to cry about it? Or
Right.
I said it because I
really felt Stephen Moffat's voice, like his voice, through a lot of that type of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And even all of the jibes at Danny and stuff like that, I felt like his agenda of like the way he would speak about something. I don't really feel like a lot of the dialogue was individualistic of the characters, which is why it's having the effect that we're all talking about.
I do want to address the Clara and Danny being there, because Clara was lost in Glasgow. So maybe she had some days off. And so she's coming back to work, and he's already been there for a few days or a while. He's still the new guy though.
That makes sense.
Because then he set up, the cadet thing, which was just for fun. And he has that one kid in that preschool time, not preschool, but before class, who was in his class asking him about, did he have to kill anybody? So he's already in that class and thinking he's a jokester. So I can get that kid, but it's like, but I thought that was good for the kid. I thought that was a good character. It's like, that's who that character was going to be. Just a smart aleck kid trying to be funny, but then also not.
Right. I do like your explanation for that, Frank, and I wish that was in the episode because in Deep Breath, they were in Glasgow going to get chips and coffee or tea. And so to reference that with like the headmaster introducing Danny to Clara would have been the perfect time to put in that line.
It could also be that she wasn't just back because they were working on, I'll take that. So she was just so busy when she came back, they just never crossed paths.
Yeah, and I see this as a simple fix because they could have just put it there where we've gotten unintended consequences with Eccleston when he says, "Rose, I'm going to bring you back 2 minutes from now," but it's really 2 years or 2 months or whatever.
12, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, so it's like that happens, but then you get, right before this, you get the Doctor saving Lieutenant Blue, Journey Blue, and then getting back to the cupboard or the closet in the school. Like, he's very precise in what he's doing, which is inconsistent how it's been before, where the TARDIS takes you where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it's unsettling for me, or I'm finding it problematic.
I would have liked to know a reason why she went in there.
Yes, why would you go into the closet if you...
There's a supply closet, but she didn't look like she was ever going to get supplies.
Well, I mean, she went in there to be Twitter-pated, I think, is what she went in there for.
It would have been nice to have just heard the TARDIS sound, and that would have brought her in there.
See, again, a simple sound design, simple fix, but they didn't do that.
This also continues my going all the way back to Amy and Rory at the end. I'm sick of part-time companions. You know, it's like, oh, I don't see you for 3 weeks. And then at the end of the episode, well, when will I see you? Oh, I don't know, soon. And it's like, like Josh says, I want the adventures in the TARDIS. I don't want every episode to be about how he pulls his part-time companion back into the TARDIS and how that's a struggle for them. It's like, be in the TARDIS, because everybody watching the show would love to be a companion. Stop the part-time companion thing. It's like, I don't want them pulled between two worlds. So, and I guess that's my, you know, it's one of the things where it was like, I
don't mind it. I really don't. I like that they can have their own life and the adventures, that you don't have to choose one or the other.
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I have a feeling a lot of it, if not most of it, was probably producers saying, well, if you're taking away a young doctor, there's no sexual tension. So we have to have sexual tension somewhere. So you have to put some handsome guy in there for Clara. And then they had to put this in there. Because basically
I'm almost certain that's what happened.
That's what it is, and it doesn't work. And you know, well, how are we going to do that? Well, what would have? And then some producer would be like, I know, what would it be like if a companion had a whole life? What? We never had that before. Yeah, we never had that before because that's not what the show is. Well, let's try to make it that. So they were handed these mandates, and they're trying to shoehorn their orders into these scripts. It's definitely shoehorned ideas that are not cohesive.
No, I agree with you. And the other thing that I was thinking about this is that they wanted to ground the companion somehow. Like when we talked about Eccleston's run, it was Jackie Jackie and Mickey anchoring Rose to what the time on Earth is, like the everyday life. Mm-hmm. Where this one, it like you said, it feels shoehorned and forced as opposed to natural and earned.
Remember when Russell said that in the early seasons, Rose was the main character of the show? I think this is an example of they're trying to make Clara the main character of the show, and she ain't no Billie Piper.
Which just goes to show you that they didn't trust in their own decision of getting an older, grumpy doctor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they very quickly got scared, and I think that might have been the BBC.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. I don't think it was a unanimous decision. I think the creatives were like, yeah, we're going to do this now. And the executives were like, whoa, we can't do that. How can we even this out? The thing about Rose being the main character, though, is even though she had her home base people, she was fixated and had a clear I want.
Yeah.
Clara is now this is where it starts to become, I want my cake and eat it too, or I want to eat my cake and have it too, and it's just that doesn't make for good storytelling. You know, I want part of your world and this world too. I would like both. It's just not exciting.
They soon hit the Cortex Vault, which the Doctor explains is a supplementary electronic brain. It's what keeps the Dalek pure. The Vault destroys even the tiniest bit of compassion. The soldiers fire grappling hooks into the floor and walls, which really annoys Rusty, as the Doctor now calls him. His system fights back in the form of Dalek antibodies. The antibodies scan for the soldier that hurt Rusty and disintegrate him. The others run to an organic dumping ground where they can hide from the antibodies. They move further into the Dalek when they notice the background radiation level is increasing. It's poisoning the Dalek and the Doctor's group. The Doctor begins to talk to Rusty, who tells them that he saw beauty. New stars being born. Resistance is futile. Life always returns. Life is beautiful. They then find the damage, a breach in Rusty's power cell, which the Doctor quickly seals. As the Dalek powers up, Rusty says the malfunction is corrected and all systems have returned. The Doctor realizes what has happened. Rusty is a full Dalek again and begins exterminating soldiers back on the ship.
Does the word "duh" mean anything to you?
Yeah, what did he think was going to happen? Like, I'm so confused.
I know. I mean, the Doctor's supposed to be the smartest person in the room. I was just like, come on, Doctor.
Like, wait, I fixed the part that was broken and he's mean now? And that's shocking?
I think they were kind of hinting at the fact that his being damaged didn't stop him from being a good Dalek, which is really weird. Right. I think it's weak, but they're like, okay, Rusty, we're saving your life. We've now saved your life, and so now you're just a good Dalek who's healthy.
Yeah, like the damage made him see those memories, and they didn't realize that fixing the damage would then retroactively make him unsee it again. Like they were just hoping that like
Yes.
the damage just made him remember, not that repairing the damage would then erase, make him forget again.
Okay.
Yeah, it just seems strange that
but
they
it
wouldn't
is-
even consider that as a
Yeah.
correlation.
Somebody should have been like, because everybody's on board with it. It's like even the military guys are like, we brought you on board the ship to fix this Dalek. There isn't one single person or one single group that says this may be a really bad idea.
At least have him on lockdown.
Yeah.
This is just a pet peeve thing, but I kind of felt like once they get inside the Dalek, microscopic inside seemed to be designed quite well for small beings to walk around in.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
They had hallways and viaducts,
Ladders.
and doors, ladders, and
Very
things that
convenient.
was just like, so Dalek
Everything-
evolution was just, just in case little people ever go inside us.
That's the conceit for any miniature show or movie.
Of
Like
course.
Yes, and I
whenever
would
you get
completely
there,
grant
yeah.
that. I would completely grant you that. They can't have a show otherwise.
No, and I appreciated the campiness of that, but it just, it's just funny nowadays when special effects start to look so real, the camp ideas tend to not work as well. It's almost like you need it to look worse in order to believe what doesn't look believable.
Mhm.
Some of those sets though were more campy.
sets-
I like the look of them. Like the
Oh, I just meant campy idea-wise.
yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
you get me started on like some of the lights turning off, and you have to slap them, and we'll get there, I guess. But
With the kind of industrial ductwork and all of like the rusted metal and what else was really cool? Like the circuit boards when they walked by some of those that were really big behind them. Like
Mhm.
they weren't circuit boards, but they had the little like they were circuit boards in the background. Like that's always fun. And I thought they did a really good job of building out those sets. So it felt like they were in a bigger place, even though I'm sure,
sure.
oftentimes they were just on a set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's no
no.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but
Yeah.
it'll do.
Yeah.
One thing that bugged me in that they've made reference to this many times before, where that's only the housing, the casing. The Dalek is what is inside. And they're
Right.
not going into that Dalek, going with the fantastic voyage
Yeah.
thing that they said at the beginning, just as a reference. They're not actually going into the actual body of a Dalek.
That would be cool if they went into the meat,
And that's what I was expecting it. They're not in
Yeah.
the flesh at all.
like the
I'm gonna
Magic
s-
School Bus, you know?
I have that same note, but I was saving that for the end.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
We're talking about it now.
No, it's okay because it comes up in conversation. But I agree with you. They didn't go into the Dalek. They went into the Dalek housing.
Yeah. But also, they got attacked by white blood cells because they saw them as a foreign object.
Yeah.
So the antibodies were still, that's the correlation again to Fantastic Journey, Fantastic Voyage. So, I don't know, it just bugged me that they never actually went in. It was fine,
Yeah.
I get it, but that seemed like a false lead for it.
Right.
can't help it, Frank.
What?
keep thinking about the boys.
Stop.
Oh no.
Oh, the 1st episode.
I will
I should
never.
have never
No,
shown you that
was it-
up
Was
there.
it the first? Yeah, I guess it was.
It's the
Of the
first episode
season.
of the new season. Yeah.
I'll never look at this episode the same again. It's just.
What did I miss?
We won't explain it. You're gonna have to watch on your own, and you'll know when you
After
see it.
after the recording, we can
Okay.
explain it.
All right.
Remind us.
You explain it. I'm not explaining it.
So switching things,
Ross.
I did not like the way Ross departed our episode. It felt very undoctor-like and cold to kind of sacrifice somebody. It's like, this is our hero. I don't like, if Ross is gonna die, don't make the doctor help him die. That's what I didn't like about it.
He didn't make him help him. I'm sorry. I understand what you're saying, and I'm on your side for most of the part. But I think they're trying to change this doctor
And I
into
get
being
that.
different because he didn't try to save Kai. He goes, well, he's already dead. I'm saving who I can save. So that's like a triage doctor. I can't do CPR because that's
Perfect.
not going to be good. I got to take to those people who I can save.
Yes. So I'm glad you brought up Kai, because that one we didn't see. That was off screen.
Right.
But it's different when you see the guy, like the doctor basically gives him like a homing beacon for the Dalek antibodies to destroy this guy.
Well,
No.
no. They knew who he was already. He was giving it a kind of homing beacon so he could track it.
Yes,
Yeah,
So he could
but
track
what
where he's
I'm
going to go.
yes, you are correct. But I'm shortcutting it because that's what it looks like.
Mm.
So
Okay.
it just leaves a bad image in my mind, and that's never left because I'm remembering the first time I watched it, I'm like, he didn't even try to save this guy. It just feels like undoctor-like to me. Because without jumping ahead, he does it differently with Gretchen, where with this one, there was not even a choice with Ross. For the Doctor to give false hope to somebody, it feels out of character.
Yeah.
Would it have
And I
been better for you if he said, I can't save you, but you can help save us?
Yes, that's what I'm
Swallow
getting
this.
at when we get to Gretchen. Like, he should have done something like that with Ross.
So I liked that they were going to go a different way, which they didn't continue on. So that throws us off into totally different field.
It has no payoff for me, and I think that's why I don't like it. Because knowing what happens, there's no reason for it.
Right.
I honestly liked that because it shocked me, and I liked being shocked. And it's like he didn't cause anything. He actually used this. He did what he could. He did what he could. He did what he could so that he could use it as their advantage for the whole group. He just did it not in a emotional console. He has a terrible bedside manner.
And we're not trying to negate what you're thinking, Eugene.
I hope it's not coming off like that.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't come out that way, because what you're saying is accurate, and I get it. I'm just saying, when we were watching it, we saw it a little differently. But
no, because I'm glad people do like it. It's not something I care for.
Yeah, that's not the Doctor you want to see.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the idea of a darker Doctor.
I wish we had gotten that.
I do too.
Yes.
This would have been that. And the funny thing is that we're trapped. We're trapped between how, if we discuss it the first time we saw it, which was, oh dear God, what are they doing? And from my point of view, it's, what are they doing? They're just going to screw this up. They're not that good. To now watching it from behind going, not only did you screw it up, you just kind of blew it up.
Well, they abandoned it.
Yeah, that's the best word for it. You just abandoned it. I was like, God, now I kind of wish you hadn't tried at all.
Relaying it to something like The Office, when Ed Helms shows up, Andy was an unlikable character. So they sent him away to some sort of anger management training, and he came back and he was more likable. Like, you could have done something like that.
Because Andy, before he went to the rehab, was funny.
Yeah, but he was a little much, because you have two Dwights and it's too much.
Yeah,
so when they brought him back after anger management, he was more goofy and like he wasn't so mean.
Yeah.
So like they could have
more American.
Well, they could have done this with this Doctor with like any number of writing things, like a Gallifreyan virus hit him, so he's got to go to sleep for a while. I don't know. They could have done anything.
Oh, that would have made me even angrier.
But,
seriously, no. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not.
But if they had done what you had wanted and they explained it that way, I think we would have liked it.
We'll never know.
That's what regeneration's for.
And again, it's not working in this specific example.
Yeah.
Switching things again, the guns and how they fire, it still looks fake to me. I wish that they had done more training.
The soldiers?
Yeah, the soldiers are the only ones with guns, so like they look like Nerf guns that are just painted black.
I noticed her handgun, and I liked the little display on the side. It felt kind of like Aliens to me, where they had,
But when they're doing this, they're pointing it at the camera. There's no like recoil that says I'm actually firing something. They're just, here, hold the gun like in a pointing manner, and then the lasers are added.
They added them about,
It looks really bad.
Yeah.
And then they use the P90s. That's the same gun from the Satan Pit and Impossible Planet. So it feels like they just had those left over and they gave those to the extras.
The BBC has a very limited weapons budget. And so if they have arms in their library, they pull them out, paint them again, and send them into the production.
Or they're only allowed to go a certain amount of years into the future where that is the norm.
We need four people. We need four.
Later on,
people.
we see some of their weapons work.
Well, it's like they have to hit like the same Dalek with 4 different guns to blow up the Dalek, and it's like, you've been fighting a long time. I mean, this is the best you can do. I don't know.
Yeah, no wonder we're losing.
I mean, at least Stormtroopers can miss.
But they are the Daleks. Like the Time Lords couldn't even beat them, so. Like that's part of them, right? Is that they are unstoppable and our weapons are useless against them.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be treated like tanks or Panzer tanks. It's like you can't disable a Panzer tank with the rifle. You have to use like a bazooka, explosives, this, other more lethal things where I felt like a Nerf gun isn't going to cut it, guys.
When they were going to shrink the people down, I thought of the Master. But he kills them.
His
he
weird
shrinks them
power.
down. Yeah, he kills them when they shrink down. But it just sort of brought to mind the Master. And it was interesting that while you're shrinking, be sure not to hold your breath. Keep breathing. And the last episode was, how long can you hold your breath? So, that was
It's the new Don't Blink.
Well,
when they
go ahead. When they fall into the feeding tube.
That's how,
Okay, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go.
Well, when they fall into the feeding tube and Clara goes, "What is this?" The doctor replies, "It's paintball." And I'm like, and it's lit kind of green, so I'm like, Soylent Green reference. I like that.
Wait, is Ross in here? Yeah, first
the top layer.
Say a few words if you want.
Did anybody else feel like if the Dalek had been watching Jurassic Park, it would have also have come to the same conclusion? Life finds a way. Like his whole monologue, resistance is futile, life always wins. I felt like Malcolm Reynolds was about to say, life finds a way. Ian Malcolm was about to say, life finds a way. Like,
It would have been a chaos there.
Yeah.
And also, I think the Dalek had a really, really quick recovery. The second they steal it, there's no regeneration for him to come back to his senses. Everything just was quickly shut down again. I guess kind of makes sense in a machine being on-off, but it seemed any machine I use takes a while to reboot.
This is the future.
And later we see it does reboot. Like when it gets healed, it doesn't reboot though. But later when she turns on all the memory packs, it kind of does a little reboot.
Right.
Come on.
George, what you were saying about the Dalek speech, Auburn, I did like how the same words, it was a gradual realization of what he's talking about, because it sounded like he was siding with the position of the Daleks, but the same words then started to be applied to pro-life and have a different meaning, kind of like what Frank always points out. So I really like that switch and how we were right along with the Doctor figuring out, like, wait, he's not talking about this, he's talking about this. So I found that to be real clever. And I now that I'm talking about it, I feel like it was almost glossed over a little bit, because it's sort of what the Doctor always says, is how beautiful life is, how beautiful things are, and kind of didn't really reinforce that. He brings it back at the end when he has that face-to-face, but anyway, I thought that was good writing. We also didn't talk about, what is it? Journey was taken by how it's smaller on the outside.
That was funny.
Yeah.
The whole thing about like, it usually works better the other way around.
Yeah.
More impressive.
More impressive.
You do it the other way around.
That was a good, whatever they did, that looked really good, where the doors open up into like a big hangar. That was well done.
Yeah. That was an interesting line where when the Doctor diagnoses what's wrong, and he's like, morality is malfunction.
Yeah.
It's just like, ooh, deep.
So he knew, like, as soon as they fixed the malfunction, the morality was going to be gone.
Yep.
But he had hope.
He had hope. Yeah.
Next scene. Let's talk about that on the next scene.
Right, Brian?
I have something to say.
Journey can't believe that they had a good Dalek, but they made it bad again. There was no good Dalek, the Doctor says sadly. Just radiation affecting its brain chemistry. No miracle. Daleks are always evil. Clara angrily asks, is that a fact? Is that what we learned today? Outside on the ship, Rusty is killing all the soldiers and has alerted the Dalek home ship. Journey is ordered to destroy Rusty from the inside. She sets explosives and prepares a hand grenade. The Doctor, having listened to Clara, talks her into disobeying orders, and Journey does not pull the pin. Let's do something better, the Doctor says. They return to the Cortex Vault, where the Doctor believes Rusty still has the memories of when he was good. The Doctor sends Clara to reawaken those memories. Then he will show Rusty something to change its mind forever. No clue what that will be, but he'll do it. A soldier named Gretchen prepares grappling hooks so that they can reach the memories. She asks the Doctor, is this worth it? He says if he can turn one Dalek, he can turn them all. She fires the grappling hook and attacks the approaching antibodies. Everyone else escapes. The antibodies kill Gretchen, and she finds herself in heaven with Missy.
So this is where we get Gretchen, and I wish, like, her death, her sacrifice, compared to Ross, is something I would have liked if maybe the Doctor was like, this will be now known as the Ross maneuver, where somebody sacrifices themselves for the greater good of the unit, or maybe like the new Purple Heart will be named the Ross medal. Just something like that I think would have sat better with me, because it's done greatly with Gretchen.
Which is weird because I feel like they don't really show Gretchen all that much the entire episode.
No.
And all of a sudden she has like this big epic death, and I'm like, oh, I have to care about you?
Right.
Yeah.
My bad.
And I like it, where it's like, is this worth it? Is he worth it?
Yeah, I just feel like maybe they could have given her a couple more shots earlier in the episode, maybe a few more lines, but...
I found it weird that they're talking about all this critical level radiation, and they're just walking around like nothing's happening at all.
Well, the Geiger counter stopped working after a while. You don't hear them anymore. I'm sure they're still working, but the sound design is not there.
Well, there's Excedrin on the outside of the ship when they regrow.
Oh, very good.
Or when they regrow, the radiation is tiny compared to...
Right. I mean, I just took it to, they got future stuff that makes it okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It would have been nice after that Gretchen scene with the Doctor if he had changed his mind a little bit on soldiers, or even like had a moment of reflection upon her sacrifice.
That would have been a good reason to have such a dramatic scene with such a minor character, wouldn't it?
It would have.
But it's fine.
Heather, you had mentioned that the Doctor had hope. The way I saw that scene was that he went through this to prove his point, that there is no good Dalek. The way he said it, the way he came to it, that's how I saw it. It's kind of like, see, I'm right. There is no hope. There is no, Daleks are always evil. And that's when I was so happy that Clara slapped him. It's like, there's a look you get before you get slapped.
That was pretty cool. I like that part.
Because that did not seem like the Doctor thinking.
Well, it also
didn't
seem like a Clara thing to do. I don't think have we ever seen her?
I did, like, once she slapped him and he came and figured out what was actually going on, what he could do. His lines there were all great, about, okay, Clara, go up there, do a clever thing. It's like, and then him, well, I got a plan, I'll do this and this and this. Well, what does that entail? I don't know. I'll figure something out. But that was a good Doctor scene. So the one Doctor that we knew, how he handled it, I thought that was done well.
I do like the shots of the Daleks when they're on the command ship, I guess. It looks very sterile, and the way they're lit, and it looks like they have like maybe 10 practical Daleks. It looks really good.
Yeah, like there's like a 30-second to 1 minute business, around that area, like where they're showing the spaceship or they're showing the Daleks, they're showing the fighting. It was really, really great. Like it really felt like a larger scale than just a television show.
And then the other shot that I noticed with the Daleks that was good was when they're breaching the ship, and you have like the explosions and the debris slowly falling behind them, and then they're not like fully lit, but they're like half lit as they move forward towards the soldiers that are defending that door. I was like, it's really well done, guys.
Yeah.
They really, in this episode, they really took the cheese factor out of the Daleks. They actually felt threatening.
Yeah. And then the squibs on the practical Daleks, as they're being killed, their casings explode and then tentacles come out. And I'm like, good job, pyrotechnic team.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
I liked the way the Dalek. I mean, I agree. I agree
as well. But what I didn't understand is why they wanted to save this one Dalek. Or I can't remember what exactly they said.
I don't recall.
Yeah, they said comrade.
So it just seems strange for Daleks to care about one when they've sacrificed one for their own, so it's...
Yeah, that is
It just
weird.
seemed odd.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was, again, another executive note and put in an ADR. Because it is inconsistent with canon. We never see it again, really.
Again, I'm going to say what Yuji would say. They didn't tell us or show us why.
They
They didn't say, we're the last ship. We need all the ones we have so we can make new Daleks, or we're the only pure ones left, or anything. To go, why not just blow up the ship? That was your goal. That's what your intent was. So one Dalek is sacrificed. The Dalek in story would just blow up the ship. So it just seemed odd that they said they had to go get this one comrade back, which was injured.
But it does fit with the theme.
Injured is not, it was like, you are no longer pure. You're a weakness to us.
Yeah, which means they should just blow them up even more by their logic. Their normal logic.
Yes, that's why I think there seemed to be other parts, like Eugene said earlier, of the script that were cut out for time, and it's like, no, let's cut out the extra story. We're just going for the action.
I think they jumped into the deep end without all their floaties with this first beginning of this season. A lot of good ideas and good stuff, but they just are having a real hard time making it cohesive.
That's a good way to describe it.
A good, well put together story, you should at least know what their intent was.
Yeah.
I like that the mysterious Missy is back, but only briefly, just enough to remind us that there's this mystery.
Enough time for tea.
That was driving me crazy when we first saw it. Who is this? How is she taking first a dead robot, because he's not human, was made up of extra people, but it's like, no, it's a robot, and then taking her from a whole different era, from a whole different place. It's like, okay.
I could not stand that whole mystery when this was new.
Yeah.
I was like, I get that it's going to be explained eventually,
Right.
but like, I don't care. Like, I want to know now. This is frustrating.
But this one just seems like it's, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 15. It's like, boom, we are pounding. This is the mystery. And here is this woman who is just acting like a mustache twirling villain with tea.
Bop, bop on the head.
It's funny because
But I will say my opinion about her changes.
yeah, it's her demeanor is so, mustache twirling or just over the top sarcastic. It's just so weird and out of nowhere. But now being familiar with Michelle Gomez, the actress in this series and other shows, it's just like, I find it hysterical. Like, oh, here she is doing her Michelle Gomez thing. That's great.
Yeah, she's having a blast.
Yeah.
And to tie in what I was thinking about, like Ross and Gretchen, like knowing that they don't die made me hope that the Doctor would know that. So that's why he's okay sacrificing Ross, quote unquote, sacrificing.
Yeah, but they did.
Yeah,
Ross is
but-
dead.
Yeah, but it doesn't pay off that way because it's weird. It's like Frank brought up, we get the half-faced man who is a droid with human parts on him, but Ross is gone, but Gretchen is here. So it
Right.
feels very, that again, I wanted to wait until we got to this point in the episode, but this is why it's inconsistent for me. So that's what bothers me. It's like, if you save everybody that dies, okay, what's that mystery? I'm curious. But then now you don't. So what?
And I think if at the end, Missy,
She said her name was
The
Missy.
woman.
She already said it.
Missy was having tea with him, and then the other one just appears.
Yep.
Then it would be like, oh, we have another one for tea.
Yep. But they didn't do that. So yeah, it feels again like a missed opportunity or some sort of continuity that somebody was not looking at.
Yeah, what is she doing? Why is she taking some people? Is it everybody? What is she doing?
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Yes.
I don't feel like their reveal of this character in this tea room is intriguing. I think it's just weird.
Yes. That's what I mean. It's not leading anywhere. It's not anything we can follow. It's just, they're just showing something
Interesting,
totally different
but-
that we don't have any connection to. It's like, okay, people die, go here, what they're calling heaven. That's obviously not heaven. And again, you'd have to go, well, I'll find out when they decide to tell us. There's nothing
Exactly,
really
because
to
when you were
work
watching this week to week, and you already are going through a bunch of adjustment as it is, and you're trying to grasp at straws here because some more complicated things happen in upcoming episodes, and you're
Well,
like,
because you're going to be on a podcast 10 years later.
but it's like a week between each reference to her, and each week you don't get any more information. It's just like,
It's the same reference, yes.
Yeah.
frustrating, more frustrating than it is exciting.
Clara is able to enter the cortex and reactivate repressed memories. The Doctor faces Rusty eye to eye, literally. Rusty says there is nothing he can do, but the Doctor replies, I saved your life. Now I'll do something better. He sees the light of Clara's freed memories and knows Rusty is getting his memory back. Protecting Clara, Journey is fighting off antibodies. Clara restores the last of the memories and Rusty reboots. The antibodies retreat. Rusty remembers the star being born. The Doctor says he has shown the truth to the Dalek. He's opened its mind. Now the Doctor is coming in. He mind melds with Rusty. The universe's beauty, goodness, perfection. Remember how you feel now? Suddenly, Rusty feels the Doctor's hatred for all Daleks, that all Daleks should be dead. Daleks are evil. The Doctor begins to see more than that. On the ship, Rusty exterminates all the other Daleks. So when I mentioned that the pyrotechnics, this is where it happened, when Rusty destroys the other ones and you see the tentacles come out.
And there's that goose
Yeah, it's
flowing
great.
out of the hole in the head.
Going back to the beginning of this section, I mentioned it earlier, or maybe I didn't, depending on your editing. Clara's little adventure, turning the memories back on, when they're just in this random hallway and they're like, oh, look, some lights are out. I bet that's the memories. That's gotta be the memories. Actually,
it always, but like, I know what you're talking about, because it bugs me in horror movies where they're looking for something like that's going to help them figure out what the bad guy wants or the next victim to the bad guy. And they go searching in a house and they find the first box and that has the answer. I'm like, that's not how this works, guys. Like, it happened most recently in Malignant, where they go back to the insane asylum and it's the first drawer that gets pulled. I'm like, of course it's going to be the first one. They don't even have to bother checking out the rest of the asylum.
It's
and
like,
look, to add to that, the fact that it's extremely cheesy and obvious, it looks like they carved those freaking grates out of foam, and like, it just looks really cheap. And then she crawls in a little tunnel and it's like, washing machine or, dryer tubes.
Right.
And all she has to do is like slap these buttons that exist inside the Dalek.
Don't you know, Hungry Hippos is very advanced technology.
I think Josh has lost his marbles.
I hate this. This is stupid. I do have to say, it happens a lot in TV and movies, and I'm okay with it if you've earned it. This doesn't earn it. If you had things well written up to a point and I've suspended my disbelief and you're not doing this every 5 minutes, I'll give you one. But
they explain it away with, Clara's a teacher, so she's able to figure things out better than anyone else.
Also, it's like 2 or 3 times the doctor's like, the star? You remember that star? Remember that star you told me about earlier? And it's just like, okay, I get it. We're leaning really heavy on this star right now. Like, but why you gotta repeat it? You're making it sound so corny.
It's the only consistent thing in this Doctor nurse so far.
I will say, I really love the scenario, the scene of the Doctor in front of the Dalek. Like, I thought that was really great. Although I did have a funny picture in my head of, like, we kind of cut away and then we hear the Doctor has this squeaky little voice because he's so tiny. Like, to him he's got this bravado, but it's like this little Scottish Alvin and the Chipmunks voice.
Did they do that?
No, I just thought it would be funny if they did.
I was like, I missed that.
But I thought I did, even though it was a little rear projection-y, I really liked it. I thought it was great, eye to eye. And
What did you think of the twist when the twist happened? Because looking at it now, I keep thinking, this should be such an emotional, oh my God, the Doctor hates the Daleks that much, and this is completely affecting Rusty, and inside the Doctor is so much hatred. We're as Doctor Who fans, we're supposed to feel this, like, I believe, an emotional response, and I don't get that from the way they did it.
I didn't get it either.
Yeah.
I think that we have been hit over the head with how much the Doctor hates the Daleks so many times, it's just lost its meaning. Because I actually was watching it and thought, oh, that's cool. But I didn't, it made me think of season 1, episode Dalek. Like, when he sees the Dalek there.
Which was great.
And like, how, oh my God, why does he hate so much? Like, and that was how many years ago before this? I just think it's kind of like the Weeping Angels. Like, oh, don't blink unless you really have to, or you're looking that way. How many, like,
don't blink so you can look at them, but then don't look at them because
right.
brain,
and if you do
have to look at them.
And then the reflection gets in your eyes, and then it goes on the TV. What? To your point, I think you're right, but I also think it's kind of because, we get it.
It's hard to tell. You would need to ask a fresh person.
Yeah.
Like, how does this make you feel?
Right.
Having never seen this before.
I thought they did well. I thought that was the point, and that's what I got. But he is trying to say life will find a way, and you remembered that, and he wants to share that with them. But the hate's there, so he's like, oh no, he's taking the hate. That's not what he's supposed to take. It's not a revelation that we know he hates the Daleks. It was just like, I'm more than that. I'm trying to show you more than that. But being a Dalek, it recognizes the hate. It goes, that's normal. I understand that. He hates the Daleks. That's what my new purpose is. And he's only focused on that. So I thought they did it well. I thought they did enough. I liked what they said in that episode, in that scene.
Yeah, and I think all of that, plus some other stuff that we've sort of been complaining about or pointing at or whatever, a lot of it is feeding that initial conceit of the episode, am I a good person? So it just, and that's why one of my favorite lines in the episode is what Clara says to him about that at the very end. And
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that.
I think in hindsight, a lot of these points are done really well, but they don't hit as well when you don't know the end of it. I'm not saying that very well, but I think you understand my point.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to switch things then.
Yeah, go for it.
The Doctor makes a reference to Daleks and Skaro, and I take that meaning the first encounter with the Daleks serial story with the first Doctor.
I agree.
And he comments on how he recalls his first encounter with them on Skaro and how his experience shaped his identity. I was like, oh, kind of like that.
And I like they could reference it from so early in the series.
Yeah.
You brought up the first season of New Who as the episode Dalek, and I think that's been compared a lot to Into the Dalek, this episode. And Dalek was, I think, just done better. It had more of that showing us and having us feel it. When he's yelling at the Dalek, when Rose is yelling at him, saying, look who has the gun, look what you're becoming. It just hit a lot more than this one did, I think.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I like that you brought up that other people have compared it to this episode. I didn't know that, but this episode reminded me of Dalek. Was that the name of the episode, Dalek?
Yeah,
Dalek.
It was just Dalek.
Yeah.
Well, the reason some shows like that work a little bit better is because they're more pared down. It was most of it was conversational, took place in that room about emotion, and the battle at the end obviously they weren't as technologically advanced television wise, but there's like 5 other things going on in this episode which kind of watered down the message of the episode.
So Dalek from season 1 was written by Robert Shearman.
Can we start this whole podcast over again? I want to watch all those again.
In the aftermath, Rusty says he must go with the other Daleks. Of course you must, the Doctor says. You have unfinished work. Rusty wonders why the Doctor is not pleased. You looked inside me and saw hatred. That's not victory. Victory would have been a good Dalek. Rusty says he's not a good Dalek, but the Doctor is a good Dalek. Journey follows Clara and the Doctor back to the TARDIS, and she asks to go with them. He says she's probably nice, kind, and brave. I just wish you hadn't been a soldier. He enters the TARDIS, and they return to Coal Hill. Before leaving, Clara says, I don't know. You asked me whether you were a good man, and I don't know. You try to be, and that's probably the point. And she meets Danny, and they go on their date.
So his denial of Journey, I wish it had been worded differently.
Yeah.
Because like it was brought earlier, like, why does Moffat hate the military so much? It's just, I wish there was something else, because when Eccleston in Satellite 5, at the end of his run, he was saying, I don't like you because you follow orders. Or you just followed orders. You didn't even, it's kind of like saying you didn't question them. Where I didn't see that with Journey, if he had said something like that to her, like, you followed orders blindly, you're just a soldier. And see, that's why his line of, I just wish you hadn't been a soldier, it's just like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't ring true.
Yeah, they didn't, even just one other utterance of why.
Yeah.
Again,
should have been more.
Yeah, she's content with that. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
damn.
there's a little too much subtext in a lot of these episodes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it works overall when we're fans, but in an insular way for just one episode, it falls short.
I mean, to keep it consistent with the Doctor's abrasiveness and curtness, he should have just been like, nope, bye, and just left. I would have been fine with that. But to counter that, Jenna Coleman's response in her looks as like, I'm sorry, I don't have any control over this type of constellation look to Journey was great. So it sucks that line rubs me the wrong way, but then her reaction shot is great.
Like, nope.
See, I wanted Clara to fight for her.
Other companions would have done that. Just saying, Clara.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's
Clara's...
the thing. It's like, is it poor writing, or is Clara just so self-interested she doesn't want another companion on board?
Well, she could have been thinking in her mind, that's a horrible haircut. No way you're coming in here.
No, okay. Honestly, I would have been like, savage, love it.
It was very presumptuous that Journey was like, bye, uncle, bye, fellow comrades. I'm going to go with this guy. And then, as soon as the Doctor and Clara get into the TARDIS, Clara should have been like...
She comes right back.
No, well, she would have been like, well, why? And he goes, well, she didn't say please.
He told her at the beginning she showed no growth
Right.
over the episode. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't even really know why she wanted to go with him, because at no point was he ever nice to her or did like.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even really that great to be around in this episode, so like it wouldn't have inspired me to give up my life and hop on a TARDIS with him, which is rare in a Doctor Who episode. But
I see that she could want to go with him. I mean, she was just about to blow up herself and everyone else to destroy the Dalek. It's like the Doctor stopped her and said, we can find another way to do this. And for her to have that in her first time in her life, actual living, I could definitely see her wanting to go.
No, that's great. You should get a job writing for. You need to get
Yes,
in the
I should.
TARDIS, go back in time, and write on this episode.
But
Don't forget
one thing-
Gallifreyan virus. Gallifreyan virus.
One thing that still really just sticks in my craw, and I can't get it out, is such a slap in the face to the Brigadier. You're a soldier.
Mhm.
And we just had the episode where the actor passed away and the Doctor was devastated by the knowledge that he wasn't there and that this man passed away. And later on in this season, they bring up that idea again. But it's like, but at this point, he's like, no, all soldiers are just evil. I just don't like it because they're starting to do something that they don't follow through with. And it just lays there badly.
Yeah, that's why I really think it's something that was shoehorned in there to put him at odds with Danny later on, because it doesn't make sense.
Yes, I agree with you because it feels so contrived.
Yeah,
He could have found many reasons to dislike Danny. He didn't need to set up.
yeah. No, that's
It was
true.
because he was a soldier. Yeah.
That's true.
And he liked Mickey once he became a soldier.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I would have liked to have him tell Journey, like, instead of what he said, to tell her to go be a difference in this world. Like, now that she's learned something, hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah. But she takes it well. Her reaction is good. Like that kind of disappointed but stiff upper lip, like not really going to show it. Just like a half smile to Clara, and then she's off to soldier on, as it were.
Wow.
Literally, yeah.
And going back to the episode Dalek, there the Dalek said that the Doctor would make a good Dalek. But that was an insult, saying you're just a killer. You would make a good killer. And then this one does the same kind of thing, but bringing a different meaning to it, meaning you are the righteous one who would use the power for good. Is how I kind of get, no, I'm not a good Dalek. You're a good Dalek.
Oh, I don't
You
get
kill, but you kill righteous. And it's still wrong. I can see the Doctor going, that's still not what I want to be, but that's how I interpret what Rusty was saying. It's like, I'm still bad, but you are good.
Because I was like, what does that mean? I don't know.
I remember thinking like, ooh, this is really deep and introspective, and I'm too lazy to think about it, but I'm sure it's like really big and profound, so. As far as I took it.
I mean, I almost was going to be like, well, maybe it's just a translation thing. Maybe, the Dalek is saying the word Dalek, but he really means man.
Yeah, no, I think it was definitely like Daleks are about hatred and murder. You would make a good Dalek.
Yes.
That's more what I was
And
thinking.
That's
you
what I was
are
thinking.
a good Dalek.
Your hatred is pure.
Right. Even though it's aimed at the Daleks themselves.
That's the very shallow, not overthinking conclusion that I came to before we moved on.
Yeah.
So. Although I would, if the Dalek did mean to pay him a compliment, that would be interesting. But
I think that was a compliment. Actually, whatever. I think we're overanalyzing.
But doesn't the Doctor say back in the console room, Rusty looked into my soul and saw nothing but hatred? That'd be a good Dalek.
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But he saw a couple other things too. He saw beauty and all that first. Come on.
Right. Well, it could be more
So
than one.
dramatic. All he saw was a hatred.
So what you're trying to say, Heather, is beauty killed the beast?
'Twas beauty.
Like killed the Daleks.
It's a tale as old as time. And space.
Damn, wait. Oh, I would love to see like an episode arc of that. I mean, if we have to deal with this Robin Hood situation, we might as well get some Beauty and the Beast action going.
A bit of, I guess, trivia. This is the first episode since Waters of Mars that has had 2 credited writers. And like Waters of Mars, Phil Ford was the other one to write it with Russell T. Davis. So this one, Into the Dalek, Phil Ford is writing it with the current showrunner, Stephen
Aw.
Moffat.
Mars is so much better.
So good.
Phil Ford also did a bunch of the Sarah Jane Adventure stuff, so that's where he's connected with the Whoniverse. All right, we have Zoe Ashton playing Journey Blue. She was Una in The Handmaid's Tale, and she was recently in Mr. Malcolm's List as Julia Thistlethwaite.
My God, I want to know what her hair looks like in other
And
things.
she's marrying Tom Hiddleston and having his child.
Oh, okay, so I have seen her hair then.
Yes.
I'm sure it's
Mike-
much better in Mr. Malcolm's List.
Yeah, which is in theaters now, I believe.
Yes.
Weird plug. By the time this comes out, it'll be gone. Michael Smiley plays Colonel Morgan Blue. He was Frank in Free Fire. He is Tyrese O'Flaherty in Spaced. He was a zombie in Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, he was Reverend Green in World's End. He was Benny Silver in Luther, and he was Dr. Evazan in Rogue One. Samuel Anderson plays Danny Pink. This is his first appearance on the show, and we will see him again. Most recently, he was William in Another Life, opposite Katie Sackhoff, which is on Netflix, and he played Fingers in Gavin and Stacey. Laura Dos Santos plays Gretchen. Ben Compton plays Ross. He is Edison Tollett in The Night's Watch in Game of Thrones. He's a friend of Jon Snow and Sam Tarley. Bradley Ford plays Fleming. Michelle Morris plays the school secretary. Nigel Betts plays Mr. Armitage. This is the first time we see him in the show, and we will see him again. He also plays the same character in the spin-off series Class.
Rip.
Ellis George plays Courtney, which we briefly saw with the secretary flirting with Danny. Barnaby Edwards plays the practical Dalek, and Nicholas Briggs voices the Dalek. Rusty, in this case. I forgot to mention this last episode, but we get the 12th Doctor's theme, A Good Man, ? And I really like it.
I do too.
When is it played?
In the show? Just kidding. In this episode, it's near the end.
It's when he's approaching Rusty's eye, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that part.
It's also not in this episode. It's not really done to its full orchestral.
But we delved so much deeper into other minutia last episode that I forgot to bring it up.
Oh, it was in the first episode as well?
Yes, and I do like this theme.
Yeah, I do.
I like a good theme.
All right, into the Dalek. Who is this episode good for? Or more specifically, this episode is good for who? A new viewer, a casual viewer, a fan of the show, or a diehard?
I'd like to start off by saying that I enjoyed this episode. I think I might like it. I might like this episode. Usually Dalek episodes I find annoying, and I wasn't annoyed at this episode. Like I like what they did with the Daleks in this episode. I like that we had this Dalek who became a good Dalek, changed its mind about its. I don't know. I just liked it. I can't. I like this episode. So, who is this episode good for? I don't know. I did not come prepared, obviously. So I don't know. Somewhere between new and casual. I don't know. I'm just gonna say new.
Fan.
All right, Frank.
I think this episode feels like it could be the first in a season, because it does feel like they're introducing a lot. It just hit me. This could have been the first episode in a way because it's the present, and then they go into the past, and then it's for Clara's point of view, it's the present. It's like, oh, that's interesting. But I say new.
Only came because he has an opinion. What do you have an opinion about, buddy?
The cat is not amused at all.
I'm gonna go with fan, because even though you theoretically could introduce a new person, I feel like if you did, they would never watch the show. So I don't really have a problem with Capaldi's Doctor. I think it's quite entertaining when he's mean and sassy. But for me, there was just too much about this episode that I didn't enjoy. I didn't get any feelings of, wow, this was so much better the second time, which I usually do. And I know Josh did, and I usually agree with Josh, but I felt no magic. So the lack of magic is making me say fan. It was a very soulless episode, in my opinion. Through my
Daleks
eyes.
have no soul.
Okay, next.
I say new. I think most of the stuff that one wouldn't like about it is comparing it to what we do like about most Doctor Who's. And without that, you don't really have anything. Oh, this isn't like, you don't have anything to compare it to. So it's just kind of fresh. I don't think it's the best episode. I think it's enjoyable for all the things that Heather was saying. You're introduced to this new Clara plotline, whether you like it or not. The Doctor's interesting and fun. So I say new. I don't think a new person loses anything while they watch this.
I think I'm gonna go with new as well, because it's who is this episode good for? And obviously,
Right.
as fans, like, we're not as enthused over it as I think some other episodes. But like you all have said, if you're getting into Capaldi, I think this might be a good entry point. And now this is I'm about to, like, I watched this when it first came out, and I think Kelsey reminded me I watched Robin Hood when it first came out. But then after that, like, I think I'm going into my dark zone of, like, this will be my first viewing of a lot of these. So I don't know if Capaldi gets a lot better or changes characters, but yeah, no one brought up that he's new. No one brought up that he just regenerated. You do get the TARDIS joke. That's nice for new viewers. And you get it kind of flipped a little bit. So yeah, I think for this episode, like, yes, this should be somebody's entrance to Capaldi. If I thought that they would love Capaldi, I would start them with this.
It also really sets up / reminds us of the Dalek big bad arch enemy.
You're all so right, and yet I still wouldn't change my answer.
Oh, I don't. Me neither.
But you're all right. Like, you're not wrong, but
And you're not wrong
right
either.
too, Heather.
There's not a person that I can envision that I would introduce the entirety of Doctor Who with this episode.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
But this episode would be for a new viewer.
Yeah.
Oh, off of that, I wish that the moral question of am I a good man / person was carried throughout the season. It would have been a nice sort of through line of who this new Doctor is, if this Doctor is going through some weird regeneration.
He's going through a midlife crisis.
Oh, we'll get that later. We'll get that later. So to me, that is very disappointing that we don't have that. And I was really thinking, can this be used for a new viewer? And I do agree with what most of you have said and brought up. Very valid points. But for me, I think I'm going to have to put it into a fan, just because I don't really revisit this episode. I remember cracking open the DVD, but not watching this episode, just to make sure all the DVDs worked so I didn't have to return it. But yeah, I think this is the only time I've revisited this episode in, I don't even remember when the DVD came out, but let's just say 5+ years.
It didn't blow you away?
It did not. I mean, there are good things brought up in this episode, so hopefully I've brought up those things and balanced it in my compliment sandwich with the things that I do not like about this episode. The moral question is good. I just wish it went somewhere else. The practical Dalek explosions are great. I always love when things blow up and they blow up well. Yeah, Journey had some promise. I wish that something else would have been done with her.
She could have been a companion.
She could not have been a companion unless she got a haircut. Those are the rules.
Okay, the premise of going into a Dalek is very cool. I wish, again, it had been done differently. The expectations were there, but what they produced and gave us was not what I was expecting.
Yeah, it would have been cooler if he went into the actual.
Yes, the actual fleshy brain eye alien thing via Fantastic Voyage, like they alluded to. So that wraps up Into the Dalek. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
Additional music is by Damiel Paggio.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn, and you can find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can also find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher.
Or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
Visit our Facebook page.
Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to support Who Knew Podcast.
To listen to our show on your Amazon Echo device, subscribe to us on Amazon Music,
And then ask your Amazon device to play your podcast subscriptions.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who.
The longest running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell, Sydney Newman,
Verity Lambert, Ron Grainer,
and all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Gallifreyan virus.
Yeah, yeah.
Inspired by reality.
No, actually, Clara wakes up one morning and Matt Smith walks out of his shower.
Shower. I was going to say, she's in the shower or Matt Smith. Or it's a snow globe.